today's topic is specifically going to be about fulfillment services from high level, with the focus on the done for you SaaS setup. And I know a few months back, maybe 6 months ago, we launched a done for you sub account creation, and it was really a beta. And a lot of you might have gotten really familiar with Abby and our entire consulting team. And at that point, our focus was helping you guys set up the sub accounts for your clients. So let's say you close a client and you're not a tech person like I am, you really can just go right into the sub account option and just get it done. And it's going to be set up for your clients, right? And in that same context and analogy and system, we implemented and created a beta for the SaaS setup. So for those of you that may not know Abby McLean, she's been working with us for so long, I feel like from the day one of early stages. And really what she does is a lot of the operation stuff for high level. Most importantly, in the recent time, it's really focused on consulting. She's got a lot of team members under her. She's like a tech wizard, sales wizard, marketing wizard. I know she does a lot of consulting, even outside of the realm of high level. And she's got a lot of experience working with agencies like you. So Abby, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are. And I know we've done some webinars in the past around agency jumpstart and support services and things like that, but I see a lot of new faces. So if you don't mind, give us a quick 30-second rundown of your experience, who you are, where you're coming from, and also let's go through unpacking the SaaS setup process.
Yeah, thank you for the very awesome intro. I don't know if I deserved all of that, but so a 30-second rundown. I've been at high level for going on about 2 years, and kind of like what Paulson said, from the ground up, I've been here. My background before high level was helping agency owners build systems that were scalable. So everything that I do at high level and what I try to have on the services side and what we offer to you guys is all to allow quick scalability. So really that's our goal, is to be able to step in and really, you guys could go out there and make all of these sales today and have to do zero work on the back end. Just go make the sales, and then we'll try to make good margins for you guys, but we'll actually do all the fulfillment. So that's how we got our original DFY that we created. Was, hey, you go out, you make the sale, we'll get that client all set up, and you don't have to worry about the tech setup part of it. And now we're trying to do that for the SaaS version. So some of the big differences is with the other DFY, and we were focused on that sub account creation, which Paulson said. This one is still that, but we're actually working with your end user. So if you go out right now and you're like, you know what, I don't want to sell all of my marketing services and Facebook ads and all of that. I mean, I do, but let me just start with the software stack. Let's start with selling the SaaS, because we know that we're going to have about a zero churn rate on anyone that we sell the SaaS on, because now we own the front door of pretty much their entire business. All of their tech stack is now with us. We're selling that. Well, if you go out and sell that business owner, let's say this dentist, still needs some amount of setup. They still need to understand what the software is that you just gave them, what it does, how to use it. And it's pretty simple. So the nice part about the SaaS is it's pretty easy to teach someone, like, hey, this is the two-way texting. This is how the reputation management works. This is how the conversations work. But it's still time consuming. So you still have to schedule out these calls. You still have to do the onboarding. You still have to come in the account, tweak a couple of things around, put in their business information, get their reputation management up and running. We're doing a text to pay, which I think is coming next week. So we'll literally teach them how they can just shoot off invoices from inside their account. And then the last one is the text callback. So if someone ever calls their business, we set up an automation that will text back whoever called in, just to say hey, sorry, we're busy right now. How can I help you? And that simple thing right there. I mean, literally, I think we looked at a different SaaS company last week that they charge $200 a month just for that one simple feature, just for a text callback. So getting these business owners set up with that is kind of the goal, so that they can understand how powerful this software stack is, and that you guys don't have to do any of the work. So I just talked a lot, Paulson. You jump in.
No, this is good. This is good. Guys, when we do these webinars, we're not in the mood to sell you on anything. It's more like, hey, here's a layout of what we're wanting to do for you. based on what we know about the process, about what you do, right? So what I want to do is really just whatever questions you have when it comes to this done for you SaaS setup, I want you to just chat that over to me. Those of you watching on the Facebook group, I don't really pay attention to the Facebook group. Jump in the Zoom call so we can actually interact. It's hard for me to navigate through multiple platforms. So jump into the Zoom call. I'll field your questions. So Abby, here's what I know as agency owner what I want your team to do. And you tell me if this would make sense for me to assume or have this, plan ironed out. And if I'm not thinking about it the right way, I want you to correct me. So let's say I jump on an intro call, right? And when I jump on an intro call, here's a journey that I've shared with a lot of you already in previous presentations, right? You have the discovery stage. These are the 4 different stages of a sales process, okay? In your agencies, whether you're selling SaaS, whether you're selling marketing services, whether you're selling consulting, it doesn't matter. Most of us go through these phases. Maybe you have a one call close system. Maybe you have a no demo system. Maybe you have a self-serve system. Maybe you have a 2 demo system. It doesn't matter. They all go through these 4 phases, okay? And I'm going to kind of share with you where Abby and her team will kind of play part here as you go through this. So first thing that happens is I'm going to get on, I get a lead coming into my agency. I'm going to call them and I'm going to do an intro call. Hey, I want to just hear your story. I want to understand what you're doing. Let's see if there's synergy. Can we schedule a demo? They jump on a demo. They like what I got to show them, or they don't like it. We make adjustments, whatever. At the end of that demo call, what I want to do is see if they have a desire to go to the next part, which is the transactional stage, right? Earlier today, maybe about 2 hours ago, I got on an intro call with somebody and I took them from an intro to a transactional phase just like that, because they were like, you know what, Paulson, I'm tired of listening to random people that's on a demo with me. I've had a few marketing companies reach out to me. I really don't need to know what all you can do, and I don't want to build this camaraderie. I just need to know your price. I just need to know what you're going to do for me, right? And I was like, okay, fine. We'll go straight from an intro to a proposal. And after the proposal, you tell me if this makes sense. So in that moment, what I did was this. I wanted to qualify them for the proposal. I said, hey, listen, before I spend my time writing up a proposal, sending out a contract over to you, let's go over your budget, because I don't want to be putting together all these things and then it's not even within your budget. Can you handle $15.97 a month on services? Is that part of your budget? You have a website problem? Sure, we'll replace your website for $2,000 one time. Or do you want me to just hand over my CRM system that you really never got to see because you declined to jump on a demo call with me? Are these numbers, is that reasonable for you before I send out a proposal? So she's like, yes, send me something. And I want to run this by my business partners. And that's it, right? So I said, okay, fine. I'll send this over to you. And I'm thinking about the done for you SaaS, because if she says yes to the SaaS and the CRM platform and all that, all I want to do is just sign her for the 99 with Abby and let her team just handle it, right? So in your closing stage, you want to plan out if you're going to separate out your SaaS offer versus combining it with your professional services, because there's 2 onboardings that happen if you combine it. You have your account management team within your agency that's reaching out for information. And then you have the SaaS side, right? So with all context just laid out, if you were just selling SaaS, here's what Abby is going to do. Abby and her team is going to get the order from you, right? That here's a client that I closed. Here's what I want them to set up. Here's what it looks like. Abby, is that your normal process? The first step is you put the order in on the done for you setup funnel, right? And that takes you to a two-step order form, right? Is that right? And that's this one, right?
Yeah. So the first thing is just that 2-step order form. As soon as you purchase, then we ask you just a couple more questions. And that's really where we bridge the gap and we start communicating directly with your client. So as soon as you purchase, you hit another form that's a company intake form. That's just going to ask your information, your contact, and then about your client. And we pull that client information and start then interacting directly with your client to get them to submit their information.
So you're
Because at
telling
this,
me you're going to chase my clients around for me and get the information from them? Is that right?
that is right. We do chase them around and get that information.
Okay. Now, what's your process in communication? I know this funnel allows you to get the order from me as the agency, but can you go over your communication process? Do you guys reach out to them saying you're part of Paulson's agency, or is it like a neutral brand? And is it, what's the context in communication?
Yeah, so it's pretty almost completely neutral. So we don't run anything under high level. All of the emails, everything is coming from just speak with.us, which if any of you guys have been around the high level environment, we use that just for like generic white label booking. And we're really just saying like, thank you for your interest in the SaaS setup, or let me actually pull up and see if the exact language it's used. But everything's kept neutral. There's no branding on it, nothing at all. We're just like, hey, we're here to do your setup. And it's the technical setup. So I see a couple of questions in here saying like, I have two different SaaS products, if I'm selling these two different products with different snapshots, can we like use your particular snapshot? We're not going that deep into it because you have to think every single person will have a different snapshot. Every single person will set those snapshots at different stages of like what products they're selling for the SaaS. So if you have like 3 different tiers and stuff like that. So we're here to do the very like technical pieces of the setup and to teach the client like what's in here. We're not going to go in and customize all your custom values and your snapshot and all of that, because eventually the DFY setup for this, or the just the SaaS mode in general, the snapshot will be uploaded automatically. So we won't need to upload that snapshot for you. It's already going to be in there. And of course, like, because we're doing this at scale, we can't tell what each person's snapshot is all the time. But at the very core of it, the standard DFY setup, so the standard SaaS package is going to have things like the two-way texting, the reputation management, the missed call text back, the text to pay. Those are all the things that we're diving in and trying to make sure work. Purchasing the Twilio number, making sure they understand how to use all of that. So that's all going to be technical components that are going to be the same no matter what you decide to layer on top of it. And that's where we dive in and try to accomplish.
All right. So what you're telling me is, whenever I'm on my SaaS configurator plan, whenever I map out my feature stack, right now, you guys are going off the standard packages, right? So you're going to make sure that a fundamental round of setup is done. That way, even if you moved a client from one plan to another, or you turn something off, it's just going to be a standard setup that's going to allow you to make sure your plans are agile. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
And so from the moment you guys come in, you purchase it, you give us your client information, and we do have a little it tells you at the top, as soon as you submit this, we'll start interacting with your client. Then we're texting, emailing them. We're saying, thanks for getting the DFY set up. The next step is to fill out this form. We're going to kind of chase them around and get them to fill out this form. I put a link to that exact form inside the chat so you guys can see what type of questions we're asking. As this service kind of grows, we will expand on that. So eventually we'll be asking for Stripe integration information and stuff like that. And then on that call, another thing that we're doing that we don't ask any information about it on the form, but we're actually going to hook up the chat widget on their website. So live on that call with the client, if they have a website, we're going to take the code for the chat widget and install it on their website. And we'll walk them through that process.
So Abby, I can appreciate you guys doing that, but what happens if I didn't sell my client on the chat widget, right? Like, what are the details that I should know that they're going to get, even if I haven't really sold them yet, based on your setup?
Yeah, so it's everything that's included on the sales
standard
page,
plan, right?
The standard plan.
Okay. So that standard plan is basically going to be everything, whether the agency uses that or not, right? So let's say you set it up. Can I come back and turn that off if I want to? Or do I need to wait until the manual tech stack capability is going to be out in like a month?
Turn off what? What are you referencing?
Like, so if I wanted to just turn off user permissions after it's all set up, right now, can I do that? Or do I need to wait until the manual plan creations are out instead of the standard packages?
I'm not 100% on that one, but I think that you would have control to go turn off any of the permissions, but we're not giving them any extra permissions in this process. So
So,
really it's
so
just
you're
the,
focused on an integration setup. Is that fair?
yeah.
Okay. So you're focused on an integration setup. So how what happens next? So you're gonna basically chase the client around, make sure they reply to the text messages and emails or whatever, and you're gonna be the tech person for me, and you're gonna basically set up their fundamental integrations all the way through based on that standard package that's in the plans today, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, and how fast does that happen typically? So I'll go through these questions after we go through the scenario. How fast do you guys communicate? Like, is that happening the same day as I put an order in, or is it
Yeah. As
like,
soon as you put the order in, we're contacting them immediately because we've automated this front end part of the process. So
oh, nice.
that client's getting added into a pipeline that my team is managing, and we're automatically texting and emailing them. And that process will pretty much try to hunt them down for about a week. And then if they don't respond within a week, we reach out to you and let you know that like your client hasn't submitted any of their information.
Okay,
So
perfect. Okay, now if I go through, let's say you guys get on a Zoom call with my client or whatever, what happens for for some reason there's one or two pieces that are missing. Like let's say for example, they don't have a website, right? And
mhm.
your part of the process is to set up the chat widget, right? What do you guys normally do when you come across those scenarios like that? Or what's the plan at least? Are you going to reach out and just let me know? And
Yeah.
hey,
So our plan at the end is after the client is set up, the agency, so you guys who purchase it will get notified that the setup is done as soon as it's done. And that would be the point if there was any hangups or something we couldn't do or couldn't accomplish or something that the client requested us not do, we could let you know in that follow-up. Um, we're working to automate that process as much as possible so that it will be like immediate. But right now it's still going to be a manual process as we're kind of figuring out like where people are getting hung up along this process. But again, I think we're going to have from our last DFY about 80 to 90% of the time it goes the way we think we're going to go. There's a couple fringe cases that happen here and there, but a lot of the time, like it's also really good to be selling them on these other things, like have a website, have a chat widget, have Google My Business, have these things because it's only going to be beneficial to their business. So we'll definitely plant seeds in their mind too of like, hey, like should reach out and think about getting a website built from your agency or like having that in addition to what you have right now.
got it. Okay. And if there are multiple tickets, let's say if I sold five SaaS clients and I'm using you guys to get the setup done, is there five separate processes where you get different messaging to me, or do we get an account manager, or how do you guys manage multiple tickets for the same agency?
So right now they're all still coming in separate. You'd still have to go through the exact same process each time because you're having to go to the purchase page, give us your information and then that client's information. So that's going to be different for each one of your five clients. And then because that's different for each one of them, they're now coming in as five different contacts inside our system. So we're doing the exact same process, but just five times. In the future, there might be a world where we'll bundle all of these together. If you have a really high volume coming through, that's something that like we can always talk about a package to make it a bit easier. But one way or another, you're going to have to give us all of that client information separately each time. So really the only thing that we can bundle to save time and filling out would be the purchasing, that front end two step order form. But the back end forms pretty much would all have to stay separate and be filled out independently for each client.
Got it. Okay, that sounds good. So, as an agency, if I'm going to use the $99 setup, what are some prerequisites that you think I should have in place outside of just ordering on the funnel, right? Is there anything I need to worry about in my sub accounts, in my SaaS plans, in my agency account? Like, I mean, really a tech question. Like, what are some things I should have in place?
Yeah, I mean, at the most basic level, you at your agency level need to make sure you have Twilio set up. You need to have Mailgun or something comparable, your SMTP set up, and your Stripe because you're going to be billing the client through SaaS. And if you have those three things, that's all going to trickle down into the client account and be usable by that. So Twilio rebilling, all of that can happen and work for the client. This isn't really intended for someone that doesn't have their agency all set up. We're not going to come in and like do your agency tech setup. We do that in the other DFY because in the other DFY, we have to make sure the end to end is working. But in this one, we're under the assumption that you already have the agency set up. You're coming in just to work with your end user, not to work with you, just the end user.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is this. Let's field some questions together, Abby, if you're down for it. I don't know if you see the chat. Let me go to the very beginning. I'm gonna go with Harley Tanner's question. He goes, maybe you addressed this part of it
Yeah,
already.
I addressed that one already. So I'll go down to the second one. So how is the scheduling done with the client? Again, we're kind of coming in already emailing and texting that client, and they get notified as soon as their account creation is done. So really, we're going into their account, we're putting in their business information, we're purchasing them a Twilio number, we're setting up their reputation management, and then we're saying, hey, your setup is done. Let's get on your onboarding call. And that's all through the text and email, the information that you gave us. They're booking on a generic calendar, and then we hop on with them. Right now, I think we have those calls set to be an hour-long onboarding call just to see like they have enough time to ask us questions. We're not just doing all of the integrations, but we're also just giving them a very simple walkthrough of like, hey, this is the software. This is what happens here. Just very, very basic so that they become more comfortable in the software. Because again, if we can get them using it, get them using it quickly, they're going to stick around even longer.
Okay, so I just listed out Micah's 3 questions here. So the second part is what happens if the client doesn't have a GMB set up yet? Should we ensure they at least have a GMB account created, even though it's not been verified yet, before setting up a DFY setup with you guys?
Yeah, I would definitely say if you're planning on selling SaaS at all, I would go through everything that's in the standard package and see if the client has those things. If they do not, I would encourage them at that point to get those things. So, like, set up a Facebook business page, set up your Google My Business. You know, if you don't have a website, you can definitely try to like even upsell them on a website at that point. But again, if they don't end up having a Google My Business, we can let you guys know at the end of that process, like, hey, they don't even have this. That's a great opportunity for you to step in as a person selling them the SaaS and have an additional value add on top of this.
Right. And also, just to be clear, that process should be done even up front. So when you're actually talking to them on an intro call, on a demo call, you need to think like a doctor and get in diagnosis mode, right? I'm going to figure out what's the right prescription for this business, right? And if that's the way you think about it, you want to first look at, okay, do they have organic channels set up? That's the first question you want to ask yourself. Second question is, does it make sense for them to run paid campaigns? Not everybody, it doesn't make sense for everybody, okay? Now, the third question you want to ask is, am I the right agency to fulfill this for them, whether this problem exists or not, right? These 3 questions you have to constantly ask yourself when you're in the sales process. And that way, when you get to that proposal phase, that transactional phase, that client doesn't have to be educated or re-educated at the very end of a sales cycle. You want to educate them in the beginning before an offer is presented, right? Like if I'm going to present an offer and they're going to know my numbers, I'm going to ask them, hey, based on everything I've showed you from a tech perspective, strategy perspective, timeline perspective, is there anything you would like to add to this conversation? I ask my prospects that every time before I go, voila, 297 with the 297 setup fee. I don't want to present my offer until they're ready to go into that next phase. Okay. So just to be clear, these are the questions you should be asking even way before you get to this point of setup with us. Okay. The third question from Mike, he goes, since we have to manually fill out the done for you SaaS form, which is that funnel we share for each new SaaS client, can we know the exact questions you'll be asking on the form so we can have them fill out that info for us on our own form so we can just copy and paste it into your form. So this question is about onboarding docs, and really we'll have those onboarding docs laid out for you and say, hey, here are our 5 punchline list of items that we're going to ask. Just be aware that your clients are not going to fill this out for you. I promise you. You need to fill this out on behalf of your client. And I know that from the other marketplace services, done for you setup we've done in the past. Abby, is that a fair assessment?
Actually, so we started doing the other DFY white label, which means like we
Okay.
work with the end user in that, and we do get the end user to submit that form.
They do fill it out accurately quite
But
often.
it still is kind of a little bit like pulling teeth and chasing them around the internet to make it happen. But the other form is much more robust than this one. This one is much simpler. We've dropped the link to it in the chat, so you guys do have access to it. But we're not really saying like, hey, like if you build on this form right now, then you're good to go, because this form is going to change. Like as this process, as SaaS continues to grow, as the community is getting used to it, this is not a set in stone process. This is something that we're constantly going to be optimizing over the next few weeks, over the next month. Um, so yeah, you can certainly look at what we're asking in there, and you can go through the process. But right now, like our process is still going to be reaching out to your client. So I'd say like prep work beyond just technical prep work is prepping your client that like, hey, someone's going to be reaching out to you to help you with the technical setup. You're going to get a quick form over there. If you struggle with the form, we will happily help you fill it out. Something like that just puts their mindset into like, oh, someone's going to be emailing me about this done for me setup. Cool. I'm ready for that email and that text. So then it kind of bridges that gap. And when you kind of prep them that way too, like it's the technical setup, like, hey, they're going to come in and do this technical setup for you, answer some questions about the software and help you there. That also kind of helps the transition out, which is like at the end of it, we're like, okay, here, everything awesome. Enjoy your account. Feel free to reach out to whoever you purchase from if you have any follow-up questions. There was a world where we were pulling an account manager for each client, like each one of you guys that we were working with, but we really only do that type of setup at volume. So like if you're having, we have some people who are literally doing like up to 5 sales a day on stuff like this. That's the type of volume when we're like, okay, cool. We want to actually have an account manager on your team work directly with us, just because the volume's so high. We kind of need that person there to manage and bridge the gap sometimes and just make sure it's flowing.
Yeah, also, guys, on that note, I want to add on to what Abby just said. So if you guys are, let's say, a medium size to a large agency, okay, and you cannot just go through a funnel and just order one at a time, and you want to have SOPs and a bit more of a robust plan, reach out to me. We do have a enterprise packaging and deals that we do based on the volume, and I can customize something with you. And most importantly, what we want to do is figure out your SOPs properly, right? So you may have an account manager that gets assigned to one of our enterprise account managers, and they work together hand in hand. So if you are a mid-sized agency or higher, meaning you have over 50 to 100 plus clients and you have a robust sales team and you're running paid ads and you have multiple channels open to get your sales going, right? If you're at that kind of level, reach out to me. We can create a customized process around what you have and vice versa. There will be times when we will say, hey, your one project is way off the one-off ledge. It's not part of our normal process. It creates a strain. We cannot do that, right? So we will tell you based on those differences if we can work together or not. So we do have a enterprise relationship that sometimes we create. The next question I got is from, let's see, Hector says, I have a open ticket with billing. I purchased the done for you for $299, but I actually meant to buy the $99. Okay, perfect. So you just want to switch the sub account versus the SaaS setup. So I'm glad that's happening. I would recommend putting another order in if you haven't for the $99, even if you have the other one. We will just refund you for the other one and get you going. Okay. Brian says, what happens after you completed the process, Abby? Do you tell our clients that this email is only for onboarding or something? Just looking to see what's next in the steps, or what it would be if they email back to you, right?
Yeah, so they'll probably email back and they'll ask some simple questions and stuff like that. We get that a lot. If it's something super simple that we can answer that's not your account specific or your business specific, we definitely will help them when it comes to the high level thing. A lot of time we're just saying like, hey, we're just here for the technical setup. And the emails and texts that we're sending them do not look personalized. It's like a very like, hey, this is a process. We're coming in to do this tech setup. After the tech setup is done, if you have further questions, you can bring that back to your account manager, whoever you purchase from. We're just here to make sure your technical components are all in piece, because it really is. You're getting on with a technical person who's just driving through integrations, code, like installing code on websites and stuff like that. They don't really seem like the person that's coming here to like answer business questions for you.
So basically, you're going to be like, well, you want to talk to my boss who is Jose or Hector or whatever, reach out to him. He's going to be able to guide you with the next project, right? And so we'll make sure, like on the Zoom calls, our backgrounds don't have big high level logos. Our Zooms don't have like, COO Abby McLean, right? Like it's not going to say any of that stuff. It's just going to simply say tech person with tech help. Ask Jose or Hector if you want anything else, right? It's going to be really white labeled and neutral, just so you know. Even if you have a white label brand with us, we're going to just keep it neutral to keep it organized for us, okay? Let's see. Harley says, so if I'm only selling, let's go with this one. Abby, is so if I'm only selling the premium package and only things set up are the things in the standard package. Harley, I don't know if you're here still. Can you help me clarify your question, bud?
I think I actually
I'm here.
understand.
Oh, okay, cool.
What it is I only sell the premium package. I don't do the standard or the medium. I'm only offering the premium. So I'm trying to figure out if this done for you is only going to do the few things in the standard, am I going to have a VA that's going to do the setup on the rest of it?
That's a good question. What if I'm selling another package out of the standard?
Yes. So every package at the core of it has the standard package in it, which is why that's where we're starting, because you can't get a premium package without also fulfilling the standard package and having all those pieces there. So we're starting there. It doesn't mean that's where we're going to end. We just know that these pieces need to be done for you to do anything else really in the system and to bring it to the highest value as quickly as possible. So if we go in an account today and we install the chat widget on their website, we get their Google My Business, we turn the chat on for that, we turn Facebook on, that client could start getting leads and messages in right then and there. They don't have to wait for your ads to start working. They don't have to wait for some leads or some arbitrary thing. We can bring value immediately. And that's what we're trying to do, is get as much value as we can as quickly as possible. In the future, I think there might be a world where we'll move into offering for the premium packages. But we'll just have to cross that bridge when we get there, because again, each person can have their own customized snapshot. So if we do move into that world, it will likely be like, this is our snapshot that we use for this premium SaaS DFY. If you want to sell it, we will install this snapshot and go through the entire setup. We likely will never be doing it custom snapshots each time, unless again, if we have a very, very high volume, sometimes we'll work with those types of partnerships with enterprise and stuff like that. But again, across the board, we usually try to stay away from a lot of that customization.
Right. Yeah. And see what it is. My clients are online coaches, so they don't use GMB. The only thing in the basic package that they would use is the connect to Facebook. That's it. So that's what I was trying to figure out, because for them, it's the stuff in the premium package that's actually the value, not just the Facebook thing. So that's why I need to find out, okay, am I going to have my VAs handle that also or not? But I guess I'll talk to Paulson about an enterprise thing, because I'm getting ready to release this to 15,000 people this week as soon as my SaaS configurator is working.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't mention too many names or brands. There are a good amount of agencies that are really established, and they know that they have volume, right? And if you are in the brink of like Harley said, hey, I've got a 15,000 audience ready to go. I had another gentleman who was like a real estate person, and he's got a 50,000 member Facebook group, and he's trying to figure out how to set this up properly, right? And if you're on, crossroads like that, and you need to figure out how to customize something, here's what I'll tell you. You would have to pre-purchase our services. If we do go down the path of enterprise, we would have to approve your custom process if it is something that we could do, right? And if it's so, then we know that you're going to meet a certain amount of volume, and we can put together a quota, and we can say, you know what? From Harley, I can expect 100 setups a month. And these are standard numbers we see sometimes with certain services, right? And we'll figure out a number that works for you, make sure there's enough margin, make sure you are charging your clients properly, your billing is set up and all of that. But that doesn't happen that often, right? But if you have that need, reach out to me. We'll get on an enterprise call and I'll figure out a way to make it work for you. So let's go with the next question, which was, what happens if we don't want the chat widget discussed? Can we make that known when we buy the done for you SaaS setup?
Unfortunately, no. Everything is following the same process. And when we start getting into something like this, and this is a hang up for you guys to consider even in your own business, that one small change, if we said, oh, well, yeah, you can tell us whether or not beforehand, would cause so much more work and so many more I's to dot and T's to cross in a way that like this now becomes unscalable for us to sell. And so that's, a really good lesson, even offering your own products, is like, you don't want to get into the nitty gritty of trying to give options. Each option you give is a link in a chain that can cause errors at scale. So just to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think the most important thing, I think, who was that asked? Let's see, Micah, right? The whole point of SaaS is to get away from the world of customization, right? Ideally, you want to give them the best cookie cutter version. It sounds so bad, but that's the best thing you can do to yourself, because you'll have the same SOPs. Your internal teams will know the exact same steps over and over. And you're going to create this McDonald's model where you can shoot out a Big Mac every 30 seconds across the world, right? That's a better model when it comes to SaaS versus you going in and selling a $5,000 custom consulting that is never going to repeat itself. And you literally, go through the hoops for this client just to find out in 5 months or 6 months, they're going to cancel anyway, right? So we recommend you not customizing. And that's because we've tried that in the past when we have our own high-level software, right? We've tried it and it doesn't make sense. We don't customize high level for anybody, right? We just have the white label planning, the brand planning, and that's about it, right? So pay attention to that little detail. It'll cause a lot of strain in your process. Brian Dunlap says, are we able to be on those calls with you? Or is that not part of the process?
I mean, you technically could, but again, we're reaching out to the client to schedule this call. So we're not reaching out to you, telling you, hey, your client scheduled the call at this time. Can you make it? We're not bridging the gap. This is all automated. So like, as soon as their account is done, they're then moved on our pipeline that then texts and emails them to schedule their call. So if you are navigating with the client and can figure that out, we have no issue with you being on those calls, but we're not really trying to like bridge you between them and us.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be chasing two rabbits at the same time, right? It's like, we got to chase you and the client. It's just, we're going to give the preference to the client to get the tech setup done. If they say, hey, I can jump on a call in 2 hours, we're not going to be chasing you for the next 2 hours to see if you're going to be jumping on that call, right? We're going to take the priority of that client or that front desk being able to jump on, and we're going to knock that out, right? Let's see. Ty says, is there let's see. I'm not even reading these questions before I paste it. Okay. Let's see. Post your questions in the chat, guys. We'll list it and go through it. Okay. Ty Goodwin says, is there a list we can share with the clients that lists what they should set up to get the most out of the platform?
I think that this is the list that we keep kind of coming back around to, is going to the standard package and saying like, hey, get a website, get a chat widget installed on it, get Google My Business. Let's turn on Google My Business chat, have a Facebook business page. You want it to be as easy as possible for people that are interested in your business to all funnel into a system that's ready to like handle it and get you in touch with them. So those types of things are going to align really well with not only helping the business, keeping everything the same, so moving away from customization and then moving into the SaaS mode that becomes very easy, very high value, and can bring in leads pretty much the second everything's installed, because someone could be Googling, dentist close to me, and then see the Google My Business chat and just chatting with that dentist right away. And that was a 2-second setup, like they're ready to go. And you've already brought them potentially more value than you're going to cost them for the whole year. Yeah,
and also organic leads, don't forget, they are easier to close quite often if they have searched that business out versus you running your standard Facebook ads and lead generation. You took somebody that's on entertainment mode and now you're turning them into an active buyer, which is difficult sales cycle, right? Versus somebody who organically searched, found the GMB, they just chatted with somebody or try to make a phone call. That's a better sales cycle to attack as a business owner. So it's really important that you set up the organic stuff. Abby, will this be a phone call or Zoom or another or both? Or like, how do you guys usually, what's your mode of communication?
We do everything through Zoom as much as possible. In the event that a client cannot figure out Zoom, we'll usually give them a phone call, but we really do need it to be Zoom in this situation for certain integrations, installing code and stuff like that, because we're trying to have them have things like their website up on their screen, and then we're walking them through it or taking over control of their computer and installing it. It'd be very difficult to do this call on a phone.
Now, I got a silly question for you. Are you going to record these calls and let me know as an agency, hey, here's a link for the recording, or is that too much of a mess for us to even provide recordings?
It becomes a little bit of a mess because then we're filling up our Zoom database really from a memory standpoint. It's just too many calls. And then we always have to wait for the Zoom thing to come in, and then it comes in to whoever was recording it. And we've tried it and it ends up being a bit messy.
Got it. Okay. Silly question from Paulson. Thank you. Some of our clients, so I've got, let's see, Brian Dunlap. He says some of our clients have their own tech team to set up the chat. With that in mind, would you just find out who to send the code or set up another meeting with their tech person? I guess we should make sure that their tech person should be included on the call.
Yep, the last part. If you want the tech person there, make sure they're included in the call. We're not going to set up a secondary call. We're not going to hunt down, like what Paulson said, we're not looking for any more rabbits to chase at the same time. If we get on this call and they're like, oh, I have a tech person that's going to do this, we'll be like, awesome, here's the code. Make sure you pass this along to them. We'll even tell them probably how to do it a little bit. And we'll just make sure that like on that call, the next step is being taken to make that happen.
Got it. Awesome. So Micah says, I can't wait until you guys offer a done for you white label setup for the second package because of, I guess, email, right? Email marketing. You have any preview?
So we've been doing the DFY setup for just the sub accounts, and we want to run with that same snapshot that we use for that. It's a pretty robust, good snapshot for. And when I mean robust, I mean it's strong and simple. So like not robust in that it's got so many bells and whistles that people are confused and things are breaking and we don't know how it works and there's a million campaigns. It's robust because of its simplicity, because we're doing what we know what works. We've seen it work time and time again. I would love to take that snapshot and bring it into this SaaS setup. Right now, we're actually waiting until we want to build it in workflows. So traditionally, everything was built in campaigns and triggers. Now we have workflows. Workflows are going to be much better, much more scalable. So we're waiting until the workflow builder can save workflows to snapshots, and then we'll start walking down that path.
Ooh, that's going to be exciting. What if my client is Spanish speaking? Is there a way to indicate that in the form? In that case, should we add ourselves as a point of contact, or habla español, Miss Abby?
So again, this would be a customization outside of the norm. We do have some Spanish speaking people on the team, so we've gotten ourselves some situations where we're able to handle this, but we're not asking for that on the form. We're not getting any indication. Again, we're reaching out directly to your client. So if you think that your client isn't going to be able to navigate that conversation in English as of right now, you could add yourself as the point of contact, which means that when you go to fill in that form, it's meant to be your client's information. If you fill it in with your information, you will start getting the text and email saying, hey, thanks for your interest in the DFY setup. And then we're going to ask you to fill out the secondary form. That secondary form is your client's information. If you give us your information again, we are going to set up the account with your information. And then we're going to ask you to book the call, and you would have to navigate in bringing the client to that call if you wanted to.
Sounds good. Let's see. How long does the process typically last? I guess that's where this question's coming from. So should we tell them a plan for an hour tops or?
Yeah, when they go to book the call right now, it says an hour. We're trying to reduce that, but we'll see what happens. So we don't want to like give them too much time where then they feel like they're going to ask us a whole bunch of questions. Because again, we're trying to come in and just be the tech people. We're trying to come in and just like boom, boom, boom. Here's all your tech stuff. Okay, cool. We don't want to hang out with them for a whole hour where they start asking us all the details about your business. Because again, we don't know all the details about your business. We want to encourage them to come here just for the technical setup and direct all of the questions to you.
Nice. Let's see. I've got guys, if you have questions I'm just literally grabbing the questions from the chat and we're just going down the path of answering as much as we can to provide you as much clarity as we possibly can as you leverage our team for the done for you SaaS setup. Okay. Micah again says, how will you notify us if the setup is complete? Will you give us just a simple notice or provide us a little detail of how the setup went? Like, hey, your client asked a ton of questions. They kept asking about such and such. Or are they super stoked? This reminds me of when I took my puppy to PetSmart and she got a report card and it was like a C. And I'm like, what? How can that even be possible? That's what this reminds me of. But how do you guys rate the interaction?
So right now we're not doing this like, hey, this client was this way or that way or anything like that. It's going to be a simple notification. But what we will likely try to do is say like, here's all the key components of what we said we were going to set up. Here's what got set up or what didn't. And then if something didn't, there would probably be a reasoning why. So like they didn't have a website, could not install chat widget. They didn't have Google My Business, could not do whatever. So in that sense, it's kind of the middle line of like what you're talking about and, you know, trying to streamline it as much as we possibly can. Probably won't be as cute as a report card for a puppy, but it will still be effective.
Sounds good. So, I mean, here's the thing. I think that's a fair concern though, because you're handing over your clients to another team that you're not familiar with, and you kind of want to know how it all went, right? So I think at the end of the day, we may be able to at least tell you possibly that, hey, we had a positive interaction or we had a negative interaction. We'll work through those channels and figure out what that looks like. But today, that's not part of the process. Our intention is to come in, set up, walk out as your tech team behind the scenes, and really be done with the integrations for you, right? Anything else you want to add on to this, Abby? Anything that we didn't ask questions around?
I think, you know, kind of just more as a statement that this is much easier than I think it's been made out to be a lot of the time. So SaaS in general seems like this really intimidating thing. And we're all still trying to like, you know, figure it out. We've introduced it and we're going out and selling SaaS clients. And it seems like, oh, there's so much, it's so different. I'm so not used to it, but it actually should be an incredibly simplified version of anything you've been doing in the past. You've been doing marketing services. So like, don't get super hung up on like, you know, oh, it's going to be so difficult. It really won't. It's going to be really easy and really awesome. And it's going to bring a lot of value to the clients. And also just the last thing you're talking about, like, how did that call go? And, you know, I already thought of something in my head of like, you know, we might have some sort of like ranking system based on like positive or negative or satisfied or not satisfied. We want to try to like quantify that in some way or make it so it's very easy to digest, because whether I think they're having a good vibe or whether my other team member thinks they're having a good vibe or that person over there thought they were having a good vibe is going to be too subjective. And we want to stay away from things being subjective and move into a world where we're able to digest this information quickly and easily. So I think that's pretty much it.
So we know that in the SaaS, you know, momentum, the two phases that are really, really critical is that initial onboarding, right? That initial onboarding, we know for a fact is going to last about less than 15 days. And that's your chance to really set the client up properly, impress them, educate them, help them understand the value of it. I mean, literally the burden is on you and your team, you know, as an agency to make sure that at the end of the day, they're indoctrinated enough that they're going to log in a second time, right? Otherwise, it's just a constant battle of, oh, I didn't log in and I couldn't access this and blah, blah, blah. And it just, they don't see the value, right? So most importantly, I would say, honestly, I'm not trying to self-promote our high-level team. If we can do it, it's not going to have a lot of mistakes. I'm not promising a world without mistakes, though. It's going to go south somewhere for somebody. I know that. But odds are in our favor because we built this thing. Okay. We know what's wrong with it, what's pleasant about it, what's easier about it. And you'll understand the process as you go through it. Instead of you figuring out how to onboard your client, let us handle this for you. Focus on sales. It's just $100. We're not trying to make big money off of this. We're trying to get your clients to adopt off of this really fast, really quickly. And that's the number one reason why we even offer this. If you don't set up, let's say you don't charge a setup fee, right? I still think it's worth it for you to take the few $100 or the $99 out of your normal subscription and get this done, even if you don't charge a setup fee, because I do think the odds of mistakes are really high in the beginning as you're setting up a client in the way things are. So I highly recommend you taking advantage of the $99 done for you setup fee, the whole process. Okay. Here's the thing. Don't forget, we don't have all this figured out. This is still in beta, right? In early stages of the first couple of hundred of you jumping in on this and figuring out all the little details about it, right? So be patient with us. We'll figure it out as we go, but we know for a fact that the odds are in our favor in setting this up for you. It's going to be the standard setup, like we mentioned. And we're going to learn from this, right? We're going to want feedback from you about how this went for you, right? We're going to want to learn more about what your clients are talking to you about after we've interacted with them, right? Hey, the tech team came in and confused the heck out of me. Well, we need to know what exactly happened, right? Or vice versa. Oh, hey, can I talk to that tech team again? What happens if they want a second interaction, right? Like all these little things, we would love to learn from you and understand what you guys are seeing out there in the market. And all of you, if you have a niche down, this is the fork in the road to decide about that, right? If you have 5 different industries that you're catering to, it's going to be a struggle for you to keep track of all these different industries and what their user experience is for your platform, right? But I just want to share that with you and just give you my finals 2 cents on this. Someone says, is this 99 or $100? It's going to be 101. Just kidding. I think it's $100, but I think it's 99 in the billing, right? Abby, I'm not sure.
No, it's 100.
Okay, cool. Oh, by the way, the billing. Can we talk about the billing? Is that going to be just to the agency, or is that going to show up in their sub account as part of their SaaS billing? Or no?
So they can control, there's 2 layers of billing everywhere in high level. There's the agency billing, and then there's the billing within the account. So when you have the SaaS mode enabled, they can control their own billing from within their sub account.
Okay.
And so that's the billing that's going back to the agency.
Okay. So that client necessarily is not going to know, hey, I use high level to set up. It's just going to be at the agency level between you guys as the agency and us as high level, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to go back at your sub account level and show a line item that says, I charge you $300 for setup, that's up to you in enabling the setup charge when you set up your plans. Okay. Let's see. Anybody else have questions on the sales side, the marketing side of SaaS? I know we spent the last hour talking about the done for you setup and a lot of the processes around it. If you have questions on that, let's go through that. Or if you have questions on the sales and marketing side, let's go through that as well. Anyone want to?
Paulson.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Hey, thanks for your time, both of you, sure. Paulson and Abby. On the you just mentioned the setup fee and the example of charging $300. Can you remind me again? I know last town hall, one of the guys said it's not done. It's not set up yet to where it's automated. So will we have to go into Stripe or something after they set up and do our own charge?
So from what I know Abby's got to run to her next call. But from what I know, ideally in the long run, in your plan, in your SaaS plan, thank you, Abby. In your SaaS plan, you will be able to enable a setup fee or a trial. If it's not there today, give it a few weeks, maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 days, it will be turned on. Right now, maybe you do have to manually charge them. I'm not the tech wizard, just so you know. If somebody else can confirm that, let me know. But from what I know, the setup fee is going to be part of it in the long run. I know that for sure. Benjamin says, yeah, Stripe can do the initial charge and the secondary charge, which is a one-time fee, which he says he does it. So yeah, if you are having to manually do that, Micah, it's going to be a temporary problem. We're going to have that built into the plans, the SaaS plans. And same thing with trials, right? If trial is not allowed yet or enabled, it's going to be part of it pretty soon in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I got you. The trial is already allowed, just so you know.
Okay.
But just to clarify, I guess I'm trying to think of the order of events. After I've requested or I paid for my $100 setup and I fill out the client's information, I know the automation starts with you two. I get that. But when do I go into Stripe and actually do the charge, add the actual setup fee in Stripe? Like at what point?
I recommend you charging your clients before you come to us. Right? So when you sell, when you're on your demos and you have an offer presentation, that needs to include a setup fee if you're going to charge a setup fee, right? So when you actually swipe, it needs to be whatever your subscription plan, then the setup fee on top of that, right? Right then and there, all in one transaction.
Oh, that makes sense. And that's what I'll do in Stripe whenever I charge them.
Correct. Yeah. So when you swipe, you want to charge that up front because, unless you're feeling really generous to the clients and you want to just cover the cost, right? Let's say you're paying for the setup fee and your client is not, then what you want to do is just make sure that your agency billing is set up and your client will never see another invoice item themselves, right? Or you can waive it, right? Hey, you know what? I'll waive the setup fee for whatever reason, just to make that client, just excited or whatever. That's all up to you. But I recommend you charging the client up front for your setup fees and then coming to us based on that clearance to get launched. Okay. Let's see. How many of you guys are actively selling SaaS today? Like who's still in the planning phase and you just haven't been able to jump, but you're ready to jump? Like, where are you guys at?
I am, Paulson, and I have a question.
Let's do it. Let's go through your questions on sales and marketing. Ryan says he's been trying. Okay, cool. Let's go through why. You're only in the trying mode, Ryan. Let's go through all these scenarios on sales and marketing. Ty, let's go with you first.
I can't hear anything. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I had an interesting query come up from a client. They're going to sign on and they were asking about using Zapier for certain things. And I got tongue-tied because
that's a high-tech client.
Yeah. Yes, because in Zapier, it does not say my product name. It says high level. So I wasn't sure how to address that.
So let's unpack this. Who is the client? What kind of a client is that? That's going to know about Zapier, right? Because my gut tells me that client knows a bit more than the average client about marketing and sales.
They do. They're a financial services company. They've got a team. They use Asana. They've used other CRMs. We're switching them over from Infusionsoft into our platform, which we call Lead Momentum. And she was immediately trying to, thinking about how they can connect Asana to the platform.
Gotcha.
So that's how we got into that conversation.
So when you're talking to this prospect, is that prospect the marketing person within the business, or is it the actual owner of the business that is so tech savvy?
She's one of the operations people on the team, and she's my point person.
So she's the tech person in the team, right? So she's going to need to know a bit more about it than the average person. So what I would do is you can do the Zap from us at Marketplace. I think it's like $50 or $60 and you can cover it up. Or go the opposite route and say, you know what? I use high level as my operating system. I'm a high level consultant. I'm a high level expert, and go the other route. In my opinion, that's the easier route to keep up versus, the other route of just being totally white label. It's up to you, but it depends on how deep you want to go into this relationship. In a moment like that, when I know that client or prospect is too high tech, they know Asana, Infusionsoft, ClickFunnels, all these different things, I rather just go sell my affiliate link, if anything, versus going in with SaaS mode. You got to figure out what makes sense there. And that's not going to be your average normal lead that comes through your pipeline, right? So don't build a system around that edge case scenario either. It's going to be like 1 out of or 5 out of 100 prospects that come through your table, right?
Got it. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're better off selling consulting there versus SaaS if they're too high tech anyway. They're going to figure.
They've hired us to do we're building a quiz for them. We're doing their email marketing for them. But they also want to get out of Infusionsoft, so it makes sense for them. And since we're going to be doing their marketing long term, it makes perfect sense for them to use the platform that we've got. And so they were in. So.
Right. Yeah. So whenever Verizon, Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T, when you're signing up for all these accounts, nobody complains that they're paying $2,000 to Apple. Nobody complains they're paying $1,000 to Android, to Google to keep that device. Look at us like Apple. Look at us like Google. You still need to provide a plan and expertise and marketing and all of that. There's going to be value there. Don't be afraid to say, we use high level as the operating system. We have it white labeled at this brand. That's because we're industry experts, because of this is what we convert, right? That result. I can close this many deals for you as a realtor. I can make sure, as financial advisors, you get this many closed plans, right? This many retirement accounts or whatever it is that you're going to sell. You'll be surprised how receptive they are to it. Let's go with Ryan. Ryan said, let's see. He said, I've been trying. So Ryan, let's talk about what you've been trying, man. I want to help you here.
All right, man. Hopefully you got the magic bullet for me. So I'm in kind of a weird space. I set out, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. I set out to coach car salesmen how to run Facebook ads. And then I hit this roadblock where it's like, okay, no car salesman is going to download lead capture software and learn how to build funnels and automate their follow-up, blah, 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 blah. So I saw high level as the solution. And I was like, okay, this sucker could be my huckleberry to simplifying this whole, this could be the bridge to the gap, right? So I've been, I'm fairly early on, but I'm struggling now with how to incorporate this. I've kind of bounced back and forth between like coaching model, doing like 2,800 up front. And then I'm kind of thinking like, well, this is really scalable. So maybe I just go in the software side of things and give the coaching away as like a lead magnet sort of thing. And I've been kind of testing a little bit with a really small audience right now. So that's where I'm at. I just don't have
a concrete
plan yet.
Based on what you just shared, here's what I'm feeling. There's an economics problem here, right? It's a demand versus supply problem. You're creating a demand that doesn't exist or possibly supplying to the wrong person, right? Here's what I know about salespeople. We're not that techy.
Right.
We can barely turn the phones on. We can barely use a computer. That's because we are communicators, right? We're not creators. We're not tech creators. So when you go into, let's say, dealerships, they just want to close deals. They don't care about Facebook ads. They don't care about another CRM. They don't care about anything else but more money in their bank account. Like that's literally how they think, right? So you might be supplying something that has a lot of value to the wrong crowd, right? If you took that, what you offer, and provided it to, let's say, I'm just giving you an example, an IT person, they're tech-oriented people, right? So you need to figure out what is the way you package up what you offer that makes sense for a sales team. They're not going to adopt your technology and your expertise. And let's say you're selling Facebook, let's say you're providing coaching to teach them how to do Facebook ads, right? The first question is, how did you confirm that that has demand? Right? That's the first. Yeah. So like whenever I launch an offer, I want to make sure there's product market fit, right?
Right.
If I'm talking to a bunch of you tech-oriented high levelers versus sales-oriented high levelers, those are two different types of people, two different offers, right? Same thing applies. How many tech-oriented car salesmen are out there working at dealerships? Not that many, right? They're more on the sales side. They want, hey, you know what's going to attract them is like, hey, you want to close deals on the phone? Sure, here's my app. Here's how you close deals on the phone, right? So you want to make sure you talk to the right people, get the right feedback before launching in with an offer that may not have a lot of demand. And I'm saying this not knowing your specific subscribers or who your prospects are exactly. I'm just giving you a generic ballpark of how to attack a market, right? If I'm talking to, let's say, a bunch of accountants, right? I know they're typically judging them the right way. They're going to be analytical, oriented folks. They're not going to be as macro thinkers. They're micro thinkers, right? So they may want detailed out things in the platform, right? Hey, they may love the notes section, for example. Hey, here's how you iron out all the notes you have, step-by-step journey of how your project went, right? They appreciate things like that versus me just showing the dashboard. Hey, here's a macro picture of your whole business, right? The sales guys would appreciate that. So you really want to pay attention to what you're packaging up and who you're packaging it up for. Otherwise, what happens is you're on this burden of creating a demand that doesn't exist and then supplying it. It's a long run before you can create a profitable business.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going through right now. So
yeah. Sorry for my long-winded answer, but that's literally what I'm feeling, right? Because a bunch of sales-oriented guys, they're not going to want to know a lot of tech setup and analytical stuff. They don't care to learn how to do Facebook ads and Google ads. They just want the deals from Google ads and Facebook ads handed in the silver plate.
Right.
Right. So maybe talk to your prospects and really see what is it that you can create for the dealerships, the car sales guys. Maybe there's a better packaging you can do there. Right.
Right.
Awesome. Right. Let's see. Let's go with, hopefully that helps, man. I don't mean to just jump on my soapbox here.
No, you're all good. I mean, it's,
okay.
I need some tough love right now. So
you're not going to get it anywhere but here. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to tell you because I've struggled as an agency owner years ago. And these are fundamentals of you learning these things, right? I remember creating packages for the dental practices back in the day when I started my agency in 2014. It sucked for like 2 years. It really did. Until I realized, oh, they're not trying to learn how to do Facebook ads. They don't want to know. They just want implants in the door. They just want Invisalign in the door. They just don't care how they get there, right? Anish says planning, hopefully jumping in this week. Anish, you have any questions for me? Anything you want to add on to what we're saying?
No, I'm just right now we're back and forth with my partner on how we're going to build the SaaS portion of our business out. I tend not to work directly with the end user in a way. We work with aggregators in general. So one of the clients we're looking at, I'm not sure how the partnering is going to set up, but they want to offer it to their 800 contractors that are on their list, kind of thing. I've got PT coaches that want to be able to offer this to their personal trainers that they're training. So the only kind of real thing that's holding me back right now is probably a little bit more customization in the plans, because on the contractor side, that company wants to actually say that they're sponsoring this to a certain extent, so a discounted rate to their clientele that they're bringing it to, and then they want to add in some functionality. They're already in our system and they're playing around with creating a location that they think will work across the board for most of their contractors in general. Same with our PT guys.
Gotcha.
So right now, that's kind of where we're at. It's more just a wait for a little bit type of situation.
Gotcha. I mean, we're I think about 15, maybe 20 days away from being able to come and say, hey, ready to go. You can customize whatever you want, right?
Yeah, these guys aren't, as you said, I mean, a couple of guys are technical savvy, and they're bringing on a marketing guy he has to learn the system to be able to sell it, because I don't want to go around selling it. I just want to provide the software.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the back end. They all know already that we're building off of GHL. We're adding in our own little things. We've got within the membership area, there's going to be some SOPs, some training, some basic that they don't want to, go here and set up your Facebook account. All right. Set up your business manager. Here's your social calendar kind of thing.
So it sounds like you're going down the B2B route and then being the specialist on file when it comes to GHL. So, I mean, I think that's a healthy way to go about it. It's not bad.
Yeah, primarily because I really don't want to make the 100 sales calls a month and demos. And if I've got somebody who's already sold on the system and they've got an audience, why should I do it?
Yeah, I hear you. That's a good position to be in if you've built out those relationships and got those trusts. Let's see. I've got Melissa Blair here. Melissa says she sold a lot of SaaS. I know Melissa and her daughter, you guys have an established business. Melissa, tell us, how are you transitioning into SaaS if you're there? Oh, yeah, there you are. Anything? Are you?
Yeah, I was muted. My daughter and I have been selling a lot of SaaS. We've been selling SaaS from day one. We started with
give us some wisdom on what we should do.
Try not to do what I did the first time. Yeah, so we've been selling it for like almost 2 years, and it's grown over time, which is amazing. Everything that Sean said he was going to do, you guys have done. It's been an amazing experience. I think we went after SaaS with. I'm nerdy, so I thought everybody likes to dive in and learn software the way I do, and they don't. And so we sell it with teaching them. So teach a man to fish thing. We're teaching them how to use our version, but we don't hide high level at all. Never have. Don't plan on ever hiding it. We have our own white label version, but we're not afraid for people to see high level at all, because it's the same kind of thing. If it's WordPress, you don't hide WordPress. You just use WordPress. So, and when we started, nobody knew about high level. Now it's really starting to get out there. And so words of wisdom, pick a niche, stick to that niche, get to know it really well, build out your snapshot to fit that niche. Boy, I don't know.
You guys do the teaching method. So your gateway, from what I understand, you said is like a teaching thing or a coaching thing. So it's education as your gateway, right? Is that right?
Yeah. We went at it with, hey, this is a all-in-one tool that nobody's ever seen before, all that good stuff. And in the beginning, it was easy to sell because, it's got everything. Well, now it does, but even then people believed that it was coming. Now what we're trying to do is build out a paid coaching consulting type things so that they're paying us to build it all out for them rather than just sell it to them we've been at $247 a month. We're going to be going up. What I'm trying to figure out now is how we get all of our old customers onto the packaging and getting them on Twilio and all that. So I'm kind of waiting for that to all come. So I'm trying to soak up everything I can to figure out what our packages are going to be now. Because again, when we sold it, it only had a few things, and then it kept adding more. And Paulson, I've heard you say this a bunch of times now. It's too much, and it is. It's too much. So $247, they get everything. It's overwhelming. And so we do want to break it up into 3 packages, but I don't know what the levers are yet, so I don't know how to break them up yet. So we're just kind of waiting to find out what we can turn on and off.
That's amazing. You're going to be able to see and figure out where these questions are coming from, right? So like, I know you guys are really advanced with your model and things like that. So for us at high level, we really pay attention to the support tickets. That's where if I were to create one solution about feedback loop of the industry, I'm going to pay attention to my support tickets and figure out what are those questions that they're really about? Where are the most amount of conversations happening? And then we'll figure out, okay, you know what? Can we just dump that whole feature altogether for this industry? And that's what we pay attention to, right?
Yeah.
So as a lot of you guys start creating your own SaaS book of business, in SaaS is much easier than marketing services. I promise you, once you dive in, you'll see how easy it is to get 50 clients, 100 clients and more, as long as your market and the product fits, right? As long as you have the right offers, you'll be able to see what kind of tickets come in, what kind of conversations are happening. Because at the end of the day, SaaS will not work if they don't log in that second month, third month.
I'm clear on what we need to break it up as, but what I'm not clear is what toggles you're going to give us. So if I say, you know, so I think I just haven't seen yet.
Well, I can tell you from the previews that I've seen, we're not going to limit anything to you guys. Okay. We're just going to be able to give you the full freedom, say, hey, every feature on high level is up to your discretion to be able to go out there and decide what you want to do with your plan. So in about, I don't know, 2 weeks, don't kill me on this, but in about 2-3 weeks, the plan is to be able to give you guys the full freedom. Now, I had a few people ask me, hey, why do we even come out with these standard packages that are not customizable? It's because we've had a lot of people totally confused about what to even start with. Yeah. Right. So for those of you that don't even know where to start, go with the recommended plans. We know from the end users in most businesses, they get the most amount of value out of these plans. And that's from a lot of research on other platforms, other SaaS on your behalf, other offers, understanding what a lot of the agencies that are doing really well in high level already doing, and sharing that wealth and knowledge. So 2-3 weeks, you'll be able to turn on whatever you want. I promise you, it's not going to have any limitations of any kind outside of maybe like a universal marketplace, right? We may not have that. We may not have advanced billing systems and stuff like that. It's going to be created around SaaS, for example. But yeah, you're going to be able to have the same freedom you have yourself as an agency, you know, how you want to go about creating plans.
That brings up a good question. Yes, what niche I'm in. Ty, I'm in the same niche you are. I've been following you. I'm on your newsletter, been on your newsletter for a couple of years. So I know who you are. We're both going after the coaching consulting kind of niche that way. That's what we've really targeted. Paulson, you said something earlier to Ty, I think it was, that with her financial company, you might in some cases just turn them on to the affiliate link. Why would you turn in a financial services company to the affiliate link?
Well, they're not financial services that was specifically the point of contact was too high tech, right? If I know that, let's say, for example, I'm talking to a business, but that point of contact person is a very well-rounded marketing person, that person may be better off as an affiliate versus you selling them on a SaaS if they're already too tech. If they're, I mean, Ty said the first thing they asked was, hey, can you help me with Zapier? That right there tells me that's not your normal business owner. That's a high-tech business owner.
Right, but the affiliate link isn't always the best thing either, because even if they're high-tech, they may not want to run a SaaS business.
That's true. That's true. That's a fair judgment. But
I do the same thing. I meet with people and then I go, wait a minute, everything you've just told me, I need to introduce you to high level. That's where it makes sense. But they got to be a marketing agency. They got to have that and I got confused and thought you were telling her to send a financial services business to
no.
high level.
She said the point of contact within the financial business was a marketing person or a high tech person.
So she's an operations person, and yeah.
So you would have to make your judgment. You would have to make your judgment.
Using judgment. Yeah, I'm sorry, there's a delay, I think, but she's an operations person, and they just really wanted to know the scalability in the future. Not that they wanted to do it themselves, themselves. They're still going to hire us to do it, but just her knowing that they would have those options, like really got them excited because they're tired of going to like 40 different places to get stuff done.
Yep. And I love it when a coach or consultant says Zapier, because then I know that I don't have to work as hard to train them as when they go, how do you copy and paste? Because we've had those too. So yeah, for us, it's kind of like we interview them first, and then we either sell them the software or we sell them the opportunity with high level. Because it just
my earlier recommendation, Melissa, was if you can get a good judgment that they will survive as a tech person, then it's better to just go the affiliate route versus servicing them all day long, because our affiliate side is really generous, right? I mean, you get 40%. That's better than you going SaaS mode trying to make 50-60% after overhead. So that judgment you would have to make on yourself on whether they're a high-tech person or not. And that's the only time I would say affiliate makes sense, more than just selling SaaS.
No, this has been amazing, and what you guys are building out now is just going to take it so much farther.
Oh my gosh.
Guess my word is just get out there and sell it to some people that you know and that you trust. I started with a few women that I knew in my networking group and said, hey guys, I'm doing this. They're like, hey, take me along for the ride. I sold it to them cheap just because we didn't have anything back then. We just had the CRM and we just started the scheduling. But just work with somebody that you know and just make all your mistakes with them. They'll get a good price for it or whatever. And because once you get it, it's actually really pretty easy to sell.
Yeah. And honestly, guys, Melissa brings up a good point. Remember, you need to do a beta run with your SaaS. Your beta run is going to give you the perfect feedback loop of what your clients are really wanting, right? Going back to Ryan's question about, hey, I'm selling this to used car salesmen. And I can tell you from a sales perspective, most guys that are good at sales are not good at tech, right? They just want to close the deal, swipe, or send the proposal over and be done with it. They don't want to log into anything, right? So pay attention to what kind of customers you're really having. And I mentioned this last time we talked. There's a great book called Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And one of the things that he talks about is how he coaches little leaguers, right? When little leaguers go up to bat, he will say, don't swing at something ugly. And what that means is if you're niche down, and sometimes these curveballs come about customization or one little thing that's different or one more thing that's different, avoid all those scenarios and don't swing at something that's ugly, right? So close deals that are not going to be too varied across each other, sell the same thing over and over. And we're getting a lot of feedback, guys, about people selling 10, 15, SaaS since we launched about a month ago with the full plan, right? And that's a really healthy book of business and sustainable business, just so you guys know. Let's see. Benjamin says, for Stripe, first set up a subscription product in Stripe, then go to your funnel, add to two-step order form. Now go back to the funnel. Oh, you were giving guidance.
Yeah, that was for me.
Okay,
that was just for me.
Perfect. Anything else you guys want to add on? Anything that you guys want to share about whether you're having success about, your SaaS? Anything you guys want to add on to the conversation? Anybody? Let's see. Okay, awesome. Guys, thanks for jumping on the call today. We got a chance to go through the Done For You SaaS setup with Abby. I know she had to jump off, but if you're just jumping in, watch the first 30, 40 minutes of it. We went through the Done For You SaaS setup. We did a Q&A after that about sales and marketing. I know you guys are going to do really well because we've got your back. You're going to do well because you understand the business model. Now it's at a point of like, hey, here's the work you got to do. You got to get some sweat equity in on that phone call, those demo calls, run your paid ads, run your organic channels, and start building this brand, start building the SaaS offer. You guys are going to do much better than just selling your old standard marketing professional services, okay? So hang in there. We're here to help you. Have a good rest of your afternoon, okay? Take care.
Thanks.